So in this session, we are learning final keyword. We'll see some examples and try to understand how and why should we use final keyword in Java. Final is a Java keyword that can be used with a variable when we are declaring a variable. Final is a Java keyword which can be used with a method. That means we can declare a function with the final keyword, and we can also declare a class with the final keyword. So if we look into a Java program has a class. Inside this class, we have a function, and in the function, we have variable. So these are the three important parts of any Java program: a class, a function, and a variable. So each of these things that we use in program can be declared as final. So what will happen when we declare a keyword, when we declare a variable as final? A final variable has a fixed value which cannot be changed. So we have to initialize it at the time of declaration. We'll look into this with the help of examples. Whenever we declare a variable, uh, there are some variables whose values are predefined, like a pi variable. It has a predefined value of 3.14. So such variables which has a predefined value and that value should not change can be declared with the keyword final. When we declare a variable as final, we cannot change the value in the program. It can only be used. It is a read-only sort of entity. Similarly, when we declare a function as final, we cannot have the same function in the child class. We cannot override it. So a final method prevents overriding. Similarly, if we declare a class as final, we cannot create a child class of that particular class. So let us quickly come to see the example. I have already written one program so that we can save some time. This is example one, and if we can concentrate on this program, you can see that we have declared this pi variable. This pi variable is of double type. Usually we declare a variable like this. This pi is the name of the variable, double is the data type, and 3.14 is the value. Now, if we declare it with keyword final, so what will happen? This value of pi, that is 3.14, can only be used in the program like we have used in the area calculation. In this program, we are taking input from the user, the radius, and then we are multiplying it with the value of pi to get the area of the circle. So if we run this program, you can see it is asking for the radius of the circle. Suppose I enter 6, so it will give area of circle is 113.039. If I run it again, I enter value 5, so it is giving 78.5. Now, this is same as if we do not declare it as pi. If we run this program, it will also run. If we enter the value, suppose we enter the value as 5 in this program, it will also give the same result. But what is the difference? How this value is different from a value which is not a variable which is not declared as pi as a final variable. So if we declare, once we declare a variable with the final keyword, and now suppose we want to change the value of this pi variable is equals to 3.145, then let us compile and see what happens. You can see the final local variable pi cannot be assigned. It must be blank and not using a compound statement. See, the final local variable pi cannot be assigned. That means we cannot assign a value. We cannot reassign a value. So many times in a program, we have some set of variables whose values are predefined. Like in a class, oh, there are 60 seats. So we cannot increase or decrease that number of seats in the class. That can be declared as final. Similarly, suppose the maximum speed of a vehicle on a particular road is fixed. It is 40 km per hour. So all those variables which has a predefined value, and that value should not change, are declared with the keyword final. When we write the variable with the keyword final, we are telling the computer, the compiler, that this value should not change. This is the last value. This is the value to be used. Now here, in case of radius and in case of area, we cannot have a fixed value. The radius of circle can be 5 for one user, it can be 6 for another user, it can be 10 for another user, and depending on the radius, the area will also change. So we cannot declare the radius and area to be final variable, but this variable, this has a predefined value, so this can be declared as final variable. So a variable declared with the keyword final has a fixed value and it should not change in the program. The variable cannot be reinitialized. It has to be declared at the time, the value has to be declared at the time of declaration of the variable itself. Now let us quickly come to another example. I'll name this program example 2.java. Let me quickly uh, copy this. Okay. Now this is an example of final method. Okay. Final method, that is a function declared with the keyword final. So what will happen when we declare a function with the keyword final? So let me quickly declare a function void one. Okay. This function is a final function. Since we have declared this with the final keyword, System.out.println. Function. If you, or rather, I'll take it out. I've declared a class C1. And in this class C1, we have a function F1. Now I'll try to create another class C2. This extends C1, that means there's a child class of C1 class. So when we create a child class, we cannot have a function with the same signature, which is called function overriding. Now, if we create the same function again, this is a F1 function of C2. So here you can see it is giving error, cannot override the final method. Cannot override the final method from C1. That means function overriding is stopped. We have already declared function overriding. What is function overriding? Creating a function by the same signature, same name and same parameter in the child class as a function in the parent class. So in this case, we have a function with the name F1. So in the child class, we cannot create F1 again. Now, suppose we do not write it as final, then this is possible. Here, if we create object of C2 class, C2 obj is equals to new C2, it is perfectly fine. And if when we call this F1 function, it will print F1 function of C2. This is called function overriding. This we have already discussed in the previous session. F1 function of C2. You can see the output F1 function of C2. And if this is F2, this is a different function, then what will happen? F1 function, this function from the parent class will be activated. See, F1 function. So in normal situation, this is F1 function, this is F2 function. So when we are creating object of the child class, both these functions can be used, F1 as well as F2. But if we rename this as F1, then this function will be hidden by this function. So this is called function overriding. But if we do not want that a function should not be overridden, that means a child class cannot have a function with the same name and parameter then we can declare it as a final function. So a final function cannot be overridden. That means the child class cannot create a function by the same name. So if we want uh, to create function, we have to change the name. If we do it this way, then it is possible. Any other name will be possible. But if we create the same function with the same name in the child class, then this is an error, cannot override the final method from C1 class. If we compile it, if we try to run, it will give the same error, cannot override the final method. So in the first example, we have seen how to use the final variable. In the second example, we have seen how to declare a final method. In this example, we can see that a final method cannot be overridden. Final method cannot be overridden. That means we cannot create a child class. Child, we cannot create a function in the child class by the same name. Name and parameter. So this is function overriding can be prevented using the final keyword with the method. Now I'll quickly create another example. Example 3.java. I'll try to copy the whole program here. This is example 3. And now in this, there's a final class. The final class cannot be subclassed. Subclassed. That is, we cannot create child class. That is, we cannot create child class of a final class. Of a final class. Let us see. So this is class C1. We have a class C2. There's an example of function overriding, which this can be another function, not an issue. Now, if we declare this class as final, then what will happen? We cannot have a child class of this C1. See here, it is giving error. The type C2 cannot be subclass, the final class. So if we compile also, it will give the same error. So when we want to stop inheritance, then we declare the class as final. When we want to stop overriding, then we declare the function as final. When we want to stop a change in value of a variable, we declare the variable as a final variable. So in programs, in Java program, usually we have class, we have a function, we have variable. So each of these can be declared with the keyword final. It has its own significance. A final variable cannot be changed. It has a predefined value. A final function cannot be overridden. That is, child class cannot have the function by the same name and same parameters. And when we declare class as final, it cannot be subclassed. So this is all in this session. There is a small session. We have learned about the final keyword. We'll continue from here in the coming session.